going on, guys? I don't even... Can you see me? Yeah, you can see me. Why do I just keep moving my hair? How did my Xbox turn off? What the hell? Just keep moving my hair. Do I look good? Yeah, I look alright. Holy shit. These are raw lips. Alright, whatever. I have made a discovery. Why do I keep doing that? I'm an idiot. I've made a discovery. So, power drawing issue on a 1999 to 2004 Ford Mustang. I'm sure this is a common problem because I'm experiencing it and it keeps popping up and I keep trying to fix it and it keeps popping up. So, if you have the Mach audio system on your Mustang, it could be a convertible or it could be a hardtop. Either way, it's same deal. The seals on your trunk or the seals on your convertible top could be leaking and could be probably pouring water on your amplifiers. That's one cause of the power draw because it's going to short out your amps, and I think my amp is shorted out. I don't know if the amplifiers that I have, there's two amplifiers. I don't know if the ones that I have some kind of internal relay and the water damaged the relay and now they're always on all the time even when the car is off, or I don't know if it just made a short in the system somewhere. So what was happening to me is I have a 2003 Ford Mustang. It's a V6 automatic convertible, and it has the, you know, it was back in the day, it was like the bee's knees. It was the deluxe edition. It was like the fully loaded leather interior, power seats, the Mach Bose whatever audio system, dual amps, convertible, automatic, the total cruiser of the time. But it didn't really age very well because all of the convertible Mustangs that survived that time all have leaking convertible tops. I haven't seen one that doesn't leak. There's ways to patch it. There's ways to fix it, you know, by putting a caulk in it or some kind of silicone to kind of seal the window back, because it always leaks on the window seals, which is what I did. I slowed the leak down, but it did not solve the leak. So what happened was all the water pooled in my convertible top, and then when I take a turn or something, it literally splashes right on top of my amplifiers, which is a terrible place to put the amplifiers. Ford, if you knew that, why would you do that? Because I'm sure the convertible tops would have leaked at some point in the car's age, and now they're probably starting electrical fires because it just literally pounds of water just dumping on amplifiers that are powered, have electricity going through them all the time. So yeah, I mean, dumb idea. I don't know. But my solution, my car has probably been drawing power for the past 4 to 6 months, somewhere in that range. When the weather is dry out, it does not draw power, and I always thought that was really weird, and sometimes it did draw power, sometimes it didn't. The cold made it draw more, and, well, that's probably because the cold cranking amps on the battery, because the battery, I had to replace my battery like twice. But my discovery, when it rained, and I used to listen to my radio, I had, like, my phone, I have, like, a little plug-in on the cigarette lighter so I can listen to the radio station, like Pandora, Spotify, or whatever, on my phone in my car. I would have all mono. I would have no bass. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? Because usually when you turn the speakers on in the car, it'll be mono, and then the bass will pop on like 2 seconds afterwards. Like, it has a delay because the amps are, I guess the relay and the amp is going on when you hit the button on the whatchamacallit, the radio. So then it would turn the amps on when you hit the button on the radio. But the problem is my amps were off because I'd hit the button and nothing was happening. It would be all mono. My amps weren't working, and then they were drawing power. So I'm like, let me try something. So I unplugged the amps, and usually it would die in literally less than a day, probably like 6 to 8 hours, maybe like 6 to 12 hours, somewhere in that area. It would die, and I'm just like, son of a bitch. So I unplugged both my amps because I didn't know whether I could. I think they're linked together or something like that. I don't know if I can unplug one and that'll solve my problem, and then I'll still have bass because I have one plugged in and one not. But regardless, they're both getting dumped on with the water, and some of the connections were a little corroded, and I'm just like, this is ridiculous. And chances are that is what was drawing my power, was the two Mach Mach 1, the Mach audio system amps. I thought it could have been multiple other things. It was an old Ford, and I'm like, yeah, it could be literally anything, but it turns out that it was literally just the amps. And if anybody else is experiencing this problem with, it could be a convertible, it could be a hardtop, 99 to 04 Mustang, and you have a power drawing issue, and you have the Mach audio system, check the amps. I promise you, because even though the amps turned off when they started drawing power, or they started just not working, sometimes they still did work and my battery would still die. So check that out. Definitely look at the amps. That's just, it's really easy. You just open your trunk. I don't have the interior lining of my trunk because it's all broken, and it doesn't really matter. You can't really see much anyway from in the trunk area, so it never really bothered me. So I just took the broken plastics out, and you can see both of my little square rectangular silver amplifiers right underneath where the convertible top holds all the water. If I pulled the top like underneath itself like a carpet, the water would just dump on top of the amps, and it would be just awful. So yeah, they probably work now because they're pretty dry, but they'll eventually sometimes work, sometimes won't. Either one or both the amps are shorted out. I don't know. I'd probably just replace them both anyway. And I have to do a little bit more research to see if there's some kind of an internal relay or not, or an external relay that's close by that could be soaked, or something that is making the amps not work properly. But definitely, if you have a convertible Mustang or a hardtop and it's got the Mach audio system and it's 99 to 04, check the amps. And it's really easy. Two little silver rectangular like amps. There's two plugs on the back facing. There's plugs on the front, but the power is that for me, in my case, I think it's power in, and the ones coming out are like an amp ground or something like that. I don't know, but I don't know. I didn't really research it a whole lot, and I just went based off what I'm seeing. It looks like it's just an amp power wire. They're facing the rear seat, so not when you first open it and you can see the amps, is not those plugs, the plugs behind it, closer to the rear seat. You literally just push on the tabs and you can pull them right out. It's not hard at all, and you can see if that'll isolate your problem or not. So definitely do that. Another thing that could be draining your battery is if you have an OBD port plugged in at all times, because that actually did solve my battery drawing problem at one point, and then the next problem came by with the amps. If you have something plugged into your OBD2 or your cigarette lighter at all times, those systems are hot no matter what. No matter if the car is on, or off, those systems are always hot. They always have power going to them. So I had a little OBX tuner or something, or SCT tuner, I don't know, some kind of tuner, and I had it plugged in. I left it in the OBD2 because I was like fooling around with some like tuning stuff on the car, and I left it plugged in, and that drained my battery because there's always a 12 volt. There's a 12 volt source going to the OBD2. At all times, no matter if the car is on or off. So it's just going to be sucking power. There was a light on it, so that's probably what was sucking the power. So that's definitely something to take into consideration and look at. And another thing that there was is the cigarette lighter. I don't know if the cigarette lighter is a 12 volt or a 6 volt kind of outlet, but like I said, I have my radio thing, and I have that plugged into the cigarette lighter at all times, and it stays on at all times, and it shows like the radio station that I can like feed through my phone, so I can kind of like swoop in and like kind of steal the radio station so I can play my music from my phone on my old ass radio. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. And that system's always hot at all times, and there are it has a light on it, and a bunch of lights on it actually. So that's probably another reason why, because it's just constant lights on at all times. And yeah, definitely check those things out. definitely isolate the amps, isolate the cigarette lighter, isolate the OBD, and then work from there. And then if that doesn't solve your problem, you can easily just try with the ignition off. Ask a friend, go to a mechanic shop, find somebody that has some kind of a power probe, or go get a multimeter by yourself, or go get a power probe by yourself, and don't sit on the probe because that's not what you're supposed to do. Just use the power probe and just go to your fuse panel. I think there's two, if I'm not mistaken. I think there's one inside the car and one in the engine bay. I think the engine bay one is more related to drivetrain stuff, and the one in the interior is more related to interior stuff, if I were to guess. But there's probably a combination of both. And go ahead and power probe each one when the car is off, and definitely go online and look at kind of like a schematic of which ones are hot all the time and which ones aren't supposed to be hot all the time. Hot meaning powered. Which ones are powered all the time, which ones aren't powered all the time. And if you find one that's not supposed to be powered all the time and your power probe is reading 12 volts and it's getting full power when your car's off, chances are that's where your draw is coming from, and then you diagnose it from there. But that's all I really wanted to say. I appreciate everyone for watching. And I hope this helps people out, because this is my massive discovery that I discovered on my own. I'm sure I could have just easily looked it up on Google and I would have found the answer, but I'm too stubborn and I'm kind of dumb. So that's probably why I didn't do that. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of end it here.